An original six matchup between the Toronto Maple Leafs and the Detroit Red Wings tonight, and to be quite honest, Game 50 sounds and feels a whole lot different than Game 49, Game 48, whatever. The idea of Game 50 starts to make the season and the desperation and the current position in the standings feel a whole lot more real. It makes it feel a whole lot more imminent in terms of how much you need to get things in gear or continue at least to build off of how you've looked since December 23rd, barring a few games here or there. But the fact that you are running so low on time left in this season, the Olympic break coming up, going to put a pause in everything, so everybody's momentum kind of comes to a halt, makes it a weird thing as well. Then you come back from the Olympics, you only got a couple weeks before the trade deadline. You kind of have to start to make decisions about who are you, what are you, and what are you going to be? Because it's for teams like Toronto, the Rangers who are dealing with it right now, teams like, I don't even know, the Boston Bruins who are trying to figure stuff out, or teams in the West like the San Jose Sharks who are trying to determine, okay, what is the direction? How quickly do we want to get there? But teams have to start making decisions so that they can start moving pieces now. We saw the Calgary Flames move off of Rasmus Anderson the other day. You hear Nazem Kadri's name is out there now. The Rangers send out the letter. Like, all these teams are deciding this is their path forward. And it's because there's so little games left and some stoppages in play that make things awkward. The Olympic break is a trade freeze. As I kind of mentioned, we're getting really close to that. Only 8 games, including one tonight against the Detroit Red Wings, left until you get to that Olympic break. And then no trades. And then you basically go about 3 weeks where you can't make trades. And then you come back. Who knows what happens injury-wise for any players from the NHL teams participating in the Olympics. I mean, obviously, you hope there are no injuries. Knock on wood, no injuries happen. You don't want injuries to happen here at the Olympics, but you never know. Maybe a team that's in a good spot or in a playoff positioning loses a guy at the Olympics. Maybe they come back and all of a sudden that guy is banged up and he's going to miss a bit, and it puts them out of contention for a little while. It's a weird spot. So picking up your points now is all the more important and significantly more than it's been to this point in the season, I'd say, because now you're down to the last 8 games before the Olympic break, where all of a sudden everything starts to become a little bit more clunky, more breaks. You're jamming games in here together. We talked about this week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Sunday, and then you're back at it the week after, where you play the Sabres in there as well. It's really important to pick up points and wins as much as you can, as often as you can before this break, so you're at least in a position where your GM, your owner, your organization can say, this is who we are this year at bare minimum, and this is who we're going to be, and this is the direction we want to go in. But things are cloudy, to say the least, for the Toronto Maple Leafs, sitting 1 point out of a playoff spot. Maybe things can clear up. We can get a little bit more direction after tonight's game against the Detroit Red Wings, who, by the way, sit atop the Atlantic Division right now with the Tampa Bay Lightning. So a team that at bare minimum you want 1 point against. 2 is ideal. 1 is mandatory tonight against the Red Wings. So we'll get into tonight's lineup. We'll get into our best bet, all of that and more here today on the pregame video. I'm Zack Phillips. This is a presentation, as always, of Bet365. But let's see what we've got for tonight's lineup, courtesy of Daily Faceoff. Starting with your first line tonight, Bobby McMann, Auston Matthews, Max Domi. I personally am not making any changes there. I don't mind it. I like it. I like the fact that Matthews is now driving his own line, and he's doing it with guys who are traditionally middle to bottom 6 guys. The only other point I'll make about this, the one thing that is nice about Matthews driving this line is that it gives you more depth, because now Knies can play on a second line. If Nylander comes back, he can play on a second. Knies can play on a third. Michelli can play elsewhere. McMann can play elsewhere. Like, it gives you different options in your lineup to add more depths of attack if you have better players pushed down to other lines. It also gives you opportunities to hide some guys when everyone's fully healthy, or playing, I should say, at least, because Matthew Knies, we know he's battling through something. So if Nylander's back and he's playing under second line right wing and Knies gets bumped down, he has to play less minutes and he has to play in easier matchups, and he can kind of hide through that injury that he's dealing with right now while still being effective and still providing you Matthew Knies, who's better at, 75, 80% than guys like Calle Yarncroke. So if you have that and you have him driving his own line and you have him playing with your traditional middle to bottom six guys like McMann and Domi, then that is a helpful point. The one thing I will say to close on this first line, they need to be better defensively, and specifically that goes to one guy, and that's Max Domi. You want to look at team leaders in plus-minus this season, Max Domi and Morgan Rielly are leading in all the wrong ways. These are two guys who are in double-digit minuses this season, and in fact, the only two guys on the Toronto Maple Leafs right now who are in double-digit minuses, and that cannot happen. Both of which are guys who are playing in significant high-pressure roles. They just need to elevate their play on the defensive side of the puck. Morgan Rielly, I think, is not providing enough offensively. That's one conversation on its own. Max Domi is providing a whole lot more offensively. He's fitting in real well next to Auston Matthews, next to Bobby McMann. He's kind of getting some chemistry going there. Those guys seem to have a spark. We're watching Auston Matthews, 11 goals in his last 12 games. Max Domi assists on a couple of them. You look at the one in Winnipeg. Beautiful pass by Max Domi from behind the net to find Matthews coming down the middle. Beautiful pass by Max Domi to spread Auston Matthews and send him in on the breakaway the other night against the Minnesota Wild, in which he tucks there to get that 11th goal in his 12th game. The offense is there for Max Domi, and unlike Morgan Rielly, the offense is actually being produced at a rate of which you'd expect when he's playing with these top players, so I'll give him that credit. But the defensive side of the puck needs a lot of work for Max Domi. It's just not being that reliable. At times I watch them get trapped in their own zone, and I sit there and like, fuck, look at this guy. He gets out of position. He can get chasing a little bit, or he can get puck watching, and then it kind of turns into like a 5-on-4 with just like this extra guy on the ice. He needs to be able to either figure out how to fit into the defensive side of this system and make sure that he's contributing positively to the defensive side, or the other guys on the ice are going to have to step up and make sure that they clean things up and kind of eliminate some of those errors that Max Domi can make. So that's the final thing. Just defensively for these guys, they can take longer offensive shifts. They play a lot of minutes. You can see the wear and tear hit them at times, specifically on the other guys who aren't used to playing 20, 22 minutes a night like Max Domi and Bobby McMann. But Max Domi is just being a guy that I identify every time when things go rough in the defensive zone or in transition as the guy who's part of that first line who can get lost at times. And I'm not doing that to shit on Max Domi. I like Max Domi. I love the passion he brings. I love how much he wants to be a Toronto Maple Leaf. And I've kind of accepted what he can bring to you offensively and playing with Auston Matthews. But that doesn't excuse some of the defensive side of the puck, and you can't have it being a net negative. It's at bare minimum got to even out from the offensive production from him. And right now, the defensive side is struggling a little bit for him. Second line tonight, Matias Maccelli, John Tavares, Matthew Knies. If Matthew Knies is going to play in this one, which just my opinion based on what we've seen over the last couple of days, my opinion is that he's just gritting this thing out until the Olympic break. Two reasons. One, as Alberga has pointed out, you never know what happens injury-wise on either of the rosters, or any of the rosters for that matter, but you just saw the U.S. lose Seth Jones. He's not going to play in the Olympics, and they named his replacement Jackson Lacombe. It wasn't wasn't Lane Hudson. It wasn't anybody else here that you're looking at outside and thinking, hey, that guy could be an extra guy that you're going to bring, like Jason Robertson, like Cole Caulfield, how you're expecting those guys to be extra pieces that you might bring from the forward side of things. If a forward does go down for Team USA and can't play, Matthew Knies could be a guy who's getting a call from Billy Guerin to go over there and play in the Olympics, and I'm sure that's on his mind. The other part of this is the fact that the Olympics are coming, so if he doesn't go to the Olympics and he's not getting called, well, that's one of those outlooks of like, I have 8 more games and then I get a month off. I can battle through 8 games and take a month of rest because he knows just as much as we know here in the media, in the fan base, how critical these games are to the rest of this season. Because if the Leafs start dropping games here now, they could be out of this thing by the time you get to the Olympics, and none of this matters anyways. And I'm sure Knies is well aware of that and doesn't want to be sitting out games and just being like, I can't help my team. I can't give them an opportunity to get points. If I'm in the press box, I'm at least 75%, which is better than, 100% Calle Jarnkrok specifically. So I might as well play. It's probably better than what Jacob Quillen is bringing from a trust standpoint, a maturity standpoint. Matthew Knies is a beast who's just battling through this, but the physicality side of his game is just not there the way it should be right now. He's still engaged. He's still trying, but just not to the same extent. I wonder if part of him just looks at it and goes, if I can get to the break, if I can play through this, I will get the opportunity to rest and rehab and get myself back and at least help keep this team afloat until we get to the break, because he's just kind of helpless if he sits in the stands and has to watch the team go out there and play, and he's on the sidelines and he can't do anything about getting points. It's probably a sickening feeling. So for that, I can understand. Michelli playing well lately. JT actually, I thought, had a pretty decent game against Minnesota. Scores a goal there. I don't know. I also think he's a guy who's going to benefit from the break, but you got a ways to go to get there. So let's fucking keep picking up points. Easton Cowan, Nick Waugh, Nick Robertson as your third line for tonight. No notes. Like the line a lot. Cowan did make some rookie mistakes the other day, but it's all stuff I'm sure he's learning from and understanding. So I don't expect that to be like a trend where it gets outrageous at times. And Minnesota obviously is a really good team. Steven Lorentz, Scott Laughton, Calle Jarnkrok as your fourth line. I only have one thing to say about this. I liked Calle Jarnkrok early. This is not a personal thing for me. I have no issues with Calle Jarnkrok as a person or anything. As a player, I can't understand the need to continue to put him in the lineup. Now, part of this right now is obviously bodies. You need bodies to go, but does Calle Jarnkrok really need to be playing? Are there not kids in the Marlies who could come up here? Can Jacob Quillen not get a chance to go on your fourth line wing? I know he's playing as center, but can he not come up and learn and be hidden more in a role as a winger? Is there no one on the Marlies that you can trust to bring up right now? Because Calle Jarnkrok, I don't think does very much for you. This is obviously the kiss of death. I think that saying that here now, Calle Jarnkrok is going to go out and have a goddamn hat trick tonight or some shit, but I believe personally, Calle Jarnkrok is not helping you. He is just a guy for the most part, and at times he is actually a negative contributing factor to your lineup. I would like to see, or I would be interested in exploring, I should say, the idea of somebody from the Marlies coming in here and taking that role in the meantime while William Nylander is gone. He's just a guy who's filling up a contract spot in cap space that just sits there on your fourth line, and I don't really think does much. So it's kind of on Tree Living and it's on Berube to have this guy sitting there and just still playing. Why? What is he bringing to the table every now and then? Or is it what he's bringing to the table every now and then worthy of keeping him around is more so how I should put that. Defensive pairings. So right now, Morgan Rielly, OEL, first pair. Jake McCabe, Brandon Carlo, second pair. Simone Benoit, Troy Stecher, third pair. I would personally prefer... quick note. Troy Stecher may not play tonight. May not. I assume this is going to be a Matthew Knies thing, where he was missed morning skate, and he's unsure if he'll play or whatever, and then he's going to end up playing, so you're not going to have to worry about anything there. I don't think. I would be surprised if it turns out otherwise, but Troy Stecher was questionable earlier today. I think he plays. If I had to look at these 6 and arrange it how I would personally like it, my thoughts on the defensive pairings would be McCabe, Stecher, 1. OEL, I think, honestly, McCabe, Stecher, 1. And then you go maybe some combination of Carlo, Rielly, and then Benoit, OEL in there. I think McCabe was the most comfortable playing with Stetcher, so I want to give him back there. I don't think Carlo has been bad since his return. I actually think for the most part he's been really good. I think he had a tough game against Minnesota on Monday, but aside from that, the full body of work since returning has been pretty good for Brandon Carlo. Morgan Rielly, I would just find a way to take minutes away from him. And then OEL and Simone Benoit, I would run out as your third pair. And then what I would do is as the game goes along, take shifts away from Morgan Rielly, give Oliver Ekman-Larsson back to Brandon Carlo and have him play on the left side and run out there with Brandon Carlo. Like, you're taking minutes away from Simone Benoit anyways as the game goes on. Do you really want to be taking minutes away to that extent from Troy Stetcher? I don't personally. So I would just go McCabe, Stetcher, Rielly, Carlo, Benoit, OEL, and then as the game progresses, Benoit, Carlo, Rielly, Benoit, and you kind of snuff out that third pair, play them when you have to, and move pieces around. But the main pairing would be McCabe and Stetcher and Rielly and OEL as the game progresses. I'm getting a little bit ridiculous with it. I completely get that. I want to see what you guys think in the chat, so drop your comments down below on this video. Let me know what you guys think about those pairings and that idea I throw out. I know I'm getting creative on this one, but I think you kind of have to when you have a guy who's playing as poorly as Morgan Rielly is defensively right now, and you're trying to work back in Simone Benoit coming back from whatever injury he was dealing with. So it's kind of tough to balance this all the way through. First power play unit, Matthew Knies, John Tavares, Matias Maccelli, Auston Matthews, Morgan Rielly, first unit. Second unit, Bobby McMann, Easton Cowan, Nick Robertson, Max Domi, Oliver Ekman-Larsson. I don't have too much to say about these guys. The only thing would just be that first unit needs to get going. Otherwise, break this fucking shit up. Get a different guy in here to run this. Get different guys in here to play on it. I can say this a million times. We're on game 50. I would say that from all the games Ekman-Larsson has played versus games that he's missed, I've probably said it about 44 times here on the game previews this season so far. Ekman-Larsson should be running the power play. Morgan Rielly is not good enough to run power play 1, and he's not playing good enough right now. So the fact that they keep putting him out there is like, it's basically making me want to just mash my head against the wall until my brain turns to spaghetti, because that's what it feels like watching him run that power play right now. I would much rather see Oliver Ekman-Larsson be QB1 on PP1. For whatever fucking reason that I cannot discern and cannot figure out, they do not want to put Oliver Ekman-Larsson out there. So, you're getting nothing from 44. Why continue to run out 44 when the power play starts to cool off like this? Mind-boggling shit, to be completely honest with you. And that's still where we're at right now. But that's your power play lines for tonight's game. Obviously, it's something we've talked about numerous times. So if you've watched the channel, if you've watched videos, if you watch game previews, A, yes, I'm a big Scott Laughton fan. And B, I'm not in love with the usage that these guys are getting through the lineup. I like that they're all a little bit more condensed, but I think there are times to look at Scott Laughton and play him in a defensive zone situation over a John Tavares just because of legs at this point. It's not anything to do with John Tavares as a player in general. I think coming back from the Olympic break, he's fine, but why not start Scott Laughton on more defensive zone draws? Why not give JT an opportunity to start in the offensive zone more frequently than what you're currently doing, so that he doesn't have to worry about his first shift getting up the ice as the first part of it and then coming back as the second part? Start him in the offensive zone. Start him up there. Give him that chance. Start Scott Laughton in defensive zone draws more. That's kind of just how I would run things a little bit differently, but that's all I've got for your lines for tonight. Your goaltender, Joseph Woll, confirmed to go for the Toronto Maple Leafs. He needs a bounce-back night. I said I thought it should be Hildeby. I'm not going to argue this too much. I don't really care that much if Woll goes in. He knows he needs to be better. Berube knows he needs to be better. Everyone on the team knows he needs to be better. I think kind of he's aware that Hildeby's chomping at the bit to get there, and he's playing well. Stolarz is working on making a return here as well, too. So there should be a little bit of pressure. And I think pressure is a good thing. That's just how I see it, but maybe that's not for everybody. Hopefully Joseph Woll can respond here tonight, because if he drops a stinker in the first 40 minutes and they're behind, I see no way they get back. And the desperate, let's change something up, Dennis Hildeby, you're the guy move is going to feel too little too late against the Wings, who are a good team and are more than likely going to be able to close you out if it's like a 4-1 game early on. So that's a concern for me, but hey, man, you go with your guys. He's been your guy. You go back to your guy. John Gibson on the other side, starting for the Detroit Red Wings. Let's now get to our best bet. Our best bet is a presentation of Bet365. Use promo code NATION. That's NATION. Code NATION. NATION. Must be 19 or older. Ontario only. Please play responsibly. We are down 0.5 units. That's $50 here on the season that we have lost so far this year, but that comes after battling back from down 7.9 units, and we actually went up at one point. We came back down. We've been even at times, so being down only 0.5 units when you look at 7.9 by like Christmas time feels a whole lot better than what we were sitting at before. So hopefully we can get ourselves back in the positive here tonight with a win after this game. Coming off the Scott Laughton anytime goal loss last one feels a little bit tough because, everyone says, you're an idiot, Zach. Why would you bet on Scott Laughton? Well, there was a chance he was playing on your second line, in which case I thought, hey, this could be good, but didn't come to fruition. Going over to Bet365 to see what we've got for sides and totals right now. Red Wings plus 105, Maple Leafs minus 125. Favored in this one against the Detroit Red Wings. Total of 6.5 plus 105 to the over, minus 125 to the under. I think, again, this is a game that the only way I could look is the over. I don't know. I feel like both these teams are teams that can produce offense. I don't know if I trust Joseph Woll very much right now. I'm a little concerned defensively for Toronto as well. It's been a little bit porous over the last couple of days, couple of games. So you want things to tighten up, but that is a concern of mine going into this one. Of course, those are not our best bets. Our best bet is going to come with a guy that I've given a lot of shit to so far this season. So we're going down to the points. We're going to find Morgan Rielly 1+ point plus 120 for a half unit. That will profit $60. Half unit, Morgan Rielly, $50. Profits you $60 here tonight at plus 120. That is your best bet, for tonight's game. Morgan Rielly to record a point, plus 120. Just needs one, and that gets us on the board. I think people have been shit-talking the guy a lot. I think he struggled the other night against Minnesota as well. So let's see if Rielly can get himself on the board with a point in any fashion tonight against the Red Wings. If you enjoyed this video, hit that like button. Subscribe here to the channel. Leaf Station 401 right here on YouTube. I will be back following tonight's game, taking callers, reading the chat, answering super chats, all of that and more for another edition of Leafs Nation After Dark following Game 50 against the Detroit Red Wings. Drop your comments below what you think about the lines, the best bets, and your prediction for tonight's game. We'll see you guys tonight following the game. Till then, keep believing. For more content just like this, including game previews, post-game live shows, Leafs Morning Take Monday through Friday with Nick Alberga and Jay Rosehill with special guests, as well as instant reaction videos, make sure to be subscribed here to the Leafs Nation YouTube channel. Turn on notifications so you don't miss anything, and drop a like.